Hello! There was some concern about how the last installment ended, but rest assured, I'm not an android who was suddenly powered down and the soul left the body, and I will prove that at the end of this video, the humanness of the host. But moving on to the comments from the last installment, Patriot Bella said, "Love your videos. Your insight and wit are on the cutting edge. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Chris Watts telephone call to the private investigator." Thank you, Patriot Bella. Had a lot of nice comments, but I would never really have anything new to add to that other than a couple of comments that I've done in this series and the one comment I had in, I think it was the Loving Family Man, series. So I'm glad that you want it and you're saying such, but I don't know that I'll ever do just a whole chunk analyzing that phone call because all I would do is repeat what other people have already said. Soul King Ethan said, 15 views in 2 hours, bro fell off. Well, Soul King Ethan, bro did not fall off. Bro is as insightful and witty and on the cutting edge as bro has ever been. It was the viewers that fell off, and I'll tell you why. When one looks at greatness, one is reminded of one's own inferiority. So one reminded of their own inferiority wants to turn away and live in their delusional world where they are great because they no longer see the superior greatness to them. Mike, are you narcissistic? No, because remember what I said, it's not my greatness I'm talking about, it's the greatness of you and your comments. So that settles that, and let's move on to where we left off, which was replying to the comments from his master plan revealed part 2. We left off with a comment from Megatini, and we're going to start this one with a comment from Megatini. Yeah, Nicole Atkinson did that. She's the best friend and she didn't let him bamboozle her for 1 second. Strong woman and a hero for that. Very true. Shambagoo6657 said, thank you so much for these videos. I'm not a true crime fan, yet I could not move on from this tragedy. I could never understand how anyone could have committed this disgusting crime with no plan, none, nada. I could not fathom how anyone could be that arrogant and so stupid. And you figured it out. I completely agree with your analysis. Free at last. Rip, Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. God grant all the families peace. Very nice of you to say, Shambagoo. I'm not really a true crime fan either. It's just when cases like this come along and they touch on a lot of subjects that everyone can relate to, you got to keep looking for answers. Obviously, the whole series is about his plan, so I would disagree with that he had no plan. It went so poorly that it seems as if he had no plan. Sunflowers in SFE. Why would Shanann have to hide herself leaving her home if she was going on a play date like he claims? She wouldn't go out the back. That was ridiculous. Yeah, it wouldn't have seemed so ridiculous if his plan went the way he wanted it to, because he ran out of time from Bella and Celeste ending up being alive, which was unexpected to him when he started doing the cleanup process. And there would have been no neighbor's camera because there would have been no report. There would have been no friend at the house calling the cops over. Nate wouldn't have looked over to see what was going on. As far as neighbor Nate knew, it would have all been just a normal day. And by the time that they did find out she was missing, like, 24 hours later, 48 hours, when you're supposed to report a missing person? Even then, Chris would have had her phone, so he could have just said, yeah, and he could have communicated as Shanann to everyone, all her friends and family, to let them all know that she's okay, she's with a friend. And see, that goes to with the plan that didn't go the way he intended it to. It would have worked if everything was perfect. It's just that he would have given himself away and looked guilty. But he wouldn't have gotten caught so quickly. Christine Candelier says, it seems so simple. It's exactly what you explained. He is acting as a mirror. When Agent Tammy Lee or Graham Coder look cool, open, friendly, he is cool and doesn't figure out that he can seem suspicious. Exactly. The agents made a very good job. Right. And you can even tell when Graham Coder is talking to that guy that said he had a relationship with Chris, Trent Bolt, was it? He speaks to him in a different way than he speaks to Chris because the agents figured out that Chris is kind of like a little kid and they have to talk to him like a parent or a teacher. And they don't do that with the Trent Bolt guy. So they're mirroring him as well. And then that manipulates him into giving himself away by mirroring what they want him to mirror. But they didn't manipulate him into admitting to something he didn't do because everything he admitted to ended up being true from all the evidence. Candle 108 says, very insightful analysis by you. How come his parents never knew their son had these tendencies? And I already replied to that, so I'll go to the next one. Doris McConnell. I already replied to that one. If you want to see them, they're in this comment section. A third one that I already replied to, and now Jojo Davidson 52. So right. Thank you. Still listening. Thank you. Lexine Burry. Can't wait to hear your ideas. I hope they satisfied you. Misty Blue 750. Nice work. Thank you. Allie Penguin 722. Interesting theories. Can't wait for part 3. I hope you were happy with part 3. And then there was a reply to Allie Penguin from Not Telling You 14 saying, yes, waiting for part 3, expecting in the next week you will get a lot more views for part 1 and 2. And I just wanted to point that out. That was a good feeling at the time. It was at the time I think part 1 had 35 views and part 2 had 38 views. And then this was right. I wonder if Not Telling You 14 had something to do with it. Like they have some kind of influence at YouTube where they shared it a lot. Because when part 3 came out, that's the first time that YouTube actually treated my channel like a YouTube channel instead of it just sitting in a vacuum. It actually got sent into the algorithm and started getting hundreds and thousands of views instead of just 35 and 30. So it was nice that Not Telling You predicted the future like that. It was wow, it actually happened. And on that note, let's move on to part 3. Comment section of his master plan revealed part 3. This has taken a lot longer than I expected it would, but I'm glad. It feels good to get closure on this. Go back and revisit these old comments from all these people that helped make the series bigger than it could have been. Anaz575. Hi, Michael. How are you? I do believe if Nicole did not call the cops, Chris would have got rid of Shanann's handbag, phone, daughter's medication, etc. Exactly. Like what was discussed a couple comments ago. He probably would have brought all that stuff with him and just buried it in the hole, but things went awry. The hole was smaller than he expected. And before that, his daughters showing love and showing a superior human intelligence to Chris himself, even at the ages of 3 and 4, their love for their mother, and they're expecting of Chris to be the father and husband that he always pretended to be, asking him questions, following him around, crying, asking questions. What's wrong? What are you doing? That's the most distracting thing any parent can go through. And that distracted Chris into forgetting those things at the house or saying, I'll get back to him later, because he was running behind and they were making him forget stuff. So, yeah. P.S. Crampton. Yeah, Mike, everybody can stop looking and have a martini with an olive twist, of course. Right, because that's the way Chris was acting throughout all of the questioning he was receiving. Is everyone around him is like concerned and trying to get the answers, and Chris is just giving these short, non-committal answers that the tone implies like, well, that's all I know, so I guess we should all just move on. That's what he's hoping everyone does, because that's probably what he saw from other similar cases before he performed it himself. Everyone seems to just move on and let him get away with it, but it didn't happen this time. He was too guilty looking, because everyone was looking at him and thinking that he wanted to move on and have a martini with an olive twist. P.S. Crampton again. As far as I'm concerned, Graham is humoring him at the lowest mental level possible. Yeah, Graham had to lower himself and talk to Chris like a kid, like I said before. And Chris just bought it. He went along with it. He's we have, instead of like just some thug, like a 20-year-old thug who robbed a convenience store and murdered the cashier. If they were being interrogated and Graham was doing this exact tactic to them, they'd just be slouched in the chair like, bro, I'm not going to fall for this. You might as well just stop. I'm not talking. But Chris just goes along with it, and he's like, yeah, I am a good dad. Yeah, you should see me on the weekends. Completely falling for it. A lower mental level than a 20-year-old who would murder a cashier in a convenience store. That's what Chris Watts is. P.S. Crampton again. In the words of Dr. Henry Lee, O.J. Simpson case, said, something very wrong here. Nate comes second to that, in my opinion, to the ultimate crime. Prognoster? I'm just reading the way it's written. AKA being able to read the human behavior. Okay? Right. And if there was ever a Mr. Rogers Award for Neighbor of the Year, I think we should go back in time and give Neighbor Nate the 2018 Mr. Rogers Award for Neighbor of the Year, because it would have been really easy. He was a parent and worked a job, as far as I know, from the evidence around the case. Seems that to be that's what his life was. And it would have been real easy for him to see what was going on next door and just say, good luck with all that, folks. I got enough to do on my agenda. But instead, he came over, he's asking, is anything going on? Can I help? I got a camera. Want to see the footage? And of course, that was another wrench in Chris's spokes there. So yeah. P.S. Crampton yet again. No, CW, Nicole Atkinson was more freaked out than you, Chris, dumbass. Chris. Because in the interrogation, Chris was like, Nicole Atkinson is as freaked out as I am. Did not know how to act the words he was saying, did not know how to play the role of the character he was portraying. Didn't even take an FBI interrogator to figure that out. The average viewer can tell. P.S. Crampton, I think for the final time in this video, it's not a big deal, especially if it's Shanann. That's CW parents' attitude towards the situation. Yeah, and it rubbed off on Chris. However, I still, as I went into this a lot with the Grant Amato series, I don't really blame them for being, if they are absolutely as rotten as Chris and wanted this outcome of him murdering them and hoping he would get away with it. I still don't blame them for the crime itself, because Chris, as a 33-year-old man, should have developed the mental ability at that point to notice the difference between his parents and other parents and himself and other people. So he should have looked at them and said, what is wrong with you people? I'm not going to be this person that you think I am. I don't need the pat on the back that desperately. So, moving on to Shay Carson. Also, he's so stupid the whole time he's in these interviews and never even, not once, says, have you heard anything about my family? Any leads? What is the plan? Nothing. As a normal parent would say, they'd just be completely on edge. Where are they right now? Right now, they can be in serious trouble and torture. Right now, what are we doing? And he's just in there relaxed and helpful, like he's almost sleepy, like he's ready to pass out. And it's not because he's exhausted about the stress. It's like he's just relaxed because he already knows the answer. It was very obvious. Dead Man's Wife has a strange comment here. It freaked me out when I saw Tupac at Burger King last week. Then he explained, I'm not dead, I've been avoiding Jada. Well, that's a funny joke, Dead Man's Wife. I just haven't figured out yet, in the 2 years since you left it, why you left it for this video. So if you're still listening, why don't you send another comment about, was that like the YouTube equivalent of dialing the wrong number? You meant to leave this comment for a different video and you accidentally left it here? Annette, 2892. In the future, the EMPs against the AIs. Shudder. We might be in for that kind of war. Hopefully it's not a bloody war. It might just be all digitally fought, where the AIs get too much power and the empaths, or EMPs as you said, have to hack into the system to stop them. But yeah, and I guess I will prove at the end of this video which side I'm going to be on by proving that I'm human, not AI. No android here, despite the powering down it seemed to be at the end of the last installment. Shane Blair says, I believe that he would have gotten to a point with Nicole that he would have killed her too. Yeah, easy to see. We see this a lot in life when a man's wife drowns in a pool because she was drunk. Then 15 years later, his second wife dies the same way. And I bet Chris noticed that too a lot, and that's why he thought it would be so easy to get away with this crime. He wasn't expecting such scrutiny. But no one called him out on the first wife, so he thinks he's a perfect murderer. So let's do the same to wife number 2, because she tells me what to do too. Oh, turns out I already replied to that one, so I guess I can just move on to the next one, but it was a good comment. Lucy Castillo, it took more than 1 minute for him to let them in. He was checking if it was something he left behind, which I think is one blue glove in the bedroom and one on top of the fridge. You are great. Just reading it as it was written there. Yeah, can you imagine how frantic he was, speed walking through that house, taking the stairs 3 at a time to go up and try to hide any evidence that was left behind. And of course, he left all the medicine and all of her stuff, so it wasn't enough. But it's nice to think of how panicked he was scrambling through that house during that minute. And was it 5 seconds, 15 seconds plus a minute? Dream Crazy 36. He was addicted to sex. That was one of many elements that was involved in why he committed the crime. Yeah. That can cloud the mind. You would think that a 33-year-old man who'd already been married and had kids would be matured beyond the point that sex could have such control over his decision-making process. So there was definitely other elements at play here. Even though that was definitely one of them. And I replied to the next one, so skip that. Kim Abbey. Does anyone know what time NK arrived to work in AM and ended her workday on August 13th? NK's cell phone pinged in Frederick around 6:20 a.m. and it looked like her truck was parked across the street and down 5 houses when first officer arrived to do wellness check. I think NK was hiding in SW office closet. If you slow video down, you can see a hand holding a cell phone pulled back behind purses as officer shines his flashlight. And there were 2 replies to that. Dream Crazy 36 again, she replied to this saying she was not there, don't fall for all that jumble. You really think Rusex would let anyone walk away from this? Never. And then another reply was from Nancy N. There are some underhanded YouTube creators pushing this NK in the shoe closet, or you can see NK through the front door side panel through Coonrod's body cam footage. No one was hiding anywhere in that house, and especially not in plain sight of a police officer and Shanann's friends. Don't believe this nonsense. These creators are desperate for views and they are insulting their subs' intelligence. It's common sense, people. I have nothing to add to that would be any better than those replies. I mean, it was locked. The house was locked from the inside. So she would be stuck in there by the time the police and family and friends showed up. But they were frantically looking around and it was quiet through most of the time. And there was body cam footage. So, by the way, it wasn't her. Well, how would she be there if she was at work? So, yeah, I guess we'll end it there. That's kind of an ending with a whimper yet again. But I guess we'll just have to cover the rest of it when we get on to part 5. So I hope you had a good time. And I'll see you next time. Oh, I didn't turn it off.